In the NBA, we love to pass the torch. It goes from Bird to Magic to Michael Jordan to LeBron. But then who? Maybe it might be Luka Doncic. This is all things Luka. I'm Ahmed Fareed here with my good friends Corey Robinson and Jac Collinsworth. There are other players, guys, who are emerging in this bubble, some young players who look really promising. We'll talk about them as well. But I think this is really put, not that he wasn't on the map before, Corey, but Luka Doncic, what he's able to do and the style in which he does it has put him on the radar of even casual basketball fans out there.
Luka Doncic. I need a t-shirt that says I love Luka. I am 100% on this bandwagon. So last year, I couldn't believe no one was talking about him. He was putting up crazy numbers back then, and his game was so beautiful. And I remember watching him on TV and talking to my dad and saying, who is this young kid? He's 20 years old, lighting up the NBA down in Dallas. His game is gorgeous. He can do anything. And then Kristaps joined him, and then now, made a first playoff run, and he's making a lot of splashes. So I love it. Big fan.
What do you think, Jack?
He plays so under control. And so I can see how the LeBron James comparisons come about because he's 6'7", LeBron's about 6'8", and they both have an ability to take their 230, 250, sometimes LeBron was even heavier than that, to carry that body with just like, it looks poetic almost, just like so under control at all times and looking to pass, but always on balance. And you just don't see that. And then the ball skills on top of it. I was just going back and reading some about Luka, and they had always been playing him above his age. So when he's 8 years old, he was playing with 11-year-old. When he was 11 years old, he was playing with 13-year-old. They always kept bumping him up because he would embarrass his peers. And so you can see how as time went on and he got into the NBA and he's whatever he is, young 20s, he was very comfortable playing with the older superstar guys. He's been doing it his whole life and at a high level.
And that's something in researching a lot of these young stars. Jamal Murray is a lot of the same way, playing with older competition. I got a 6-year-old son. I got a 4-year-old daughter. I got to get them out there against like 8-year-olds right now. That is the key to unlock.
Or you can just do what Luka did and just send him to Spain. Just go play for Real Madrid for a few years. As
like a 12-year-old. It's like as a 13-year-old, I think he signed a 5-year contract with Real Madrid. As a 13-year-old, a multi-year contract to be a professional basketball player. But Jack, you're right. Let's talk about the comparisons and who you can compare him to, because we always like the comp, the comp in the draft. Who is this guy? I think it's a difficult one, but you do hear LeBron James come up quite a bit. There was an ESPN story where a lot of the greats have kind of weighed in on, maybe he is kind of like LeBron James. And this is from Dwayne Wade at the top here. Right now, I say this, it's LeBron James-like from the standpoint of how he's able to rope that pass to shooters in the corners, get blitzed. There are not many guys who can do that and put it right there. He does an amazing job of it. Steve Nash as well thinks that LeBron was so gifted, but I don't think he was as polished as Luka. And I think that's the main distinction that a lot of people are making right here. They're saying LeBron James at the same age was more physically talented, but he did not have the basketball IQ yet that Luka Doncic already has. It's like he's light years ahead, Corey, of where a 21-year-old should be.
That's the most common criticism, I guess, of the European players, is that they're not as athletic as the American players are. But as you see, the IQ is there. I mean, Luka he plays like a pro. He's savvy. He's always under control, like Jack is saying. And I was watching a lot of old tape of Magic Johnson. And when you watch him play, for some reason, I just
How did you do? What were you said tape there, Corey? Did you go into that VCR, the archives there, or did you go to?
Yeah, I had to pull out all these old reels, and I was sitting there in my house, like cranking it up. No, so I was on YouTube.
Picturing that is amazing. Like, I really hope that's true, honestly. Like, picturing you doing that makes me happy.
I was up till 3 a.m. looking at cranking old tape. No, I was on YouTube. And Magic, what's really fascinating about his game is, for some reason, I just imagined Magic was up and down the court, almost like the Rockets, just, like up and down, playing really fast. But like Jack said, his whole game was so controlled. He was always looking to pass. And he could murder you at any time offensively. He could put up points on anybody at any time. But the thing that made him such a great point guard is that he elevated the play of everyone else's game. And Luka is the fundamental example of that, where he can go for 43, 17, and 13 But it doesn't feel like he took over the game at any given time. He's always looking to incorporate his teammates around him into the game, and he just happens to get 40 points. It's like that is the genius of Luka.
Yeah, and let's make one thing clear too. They are trying to punk this man out right now. They want to punk him out of that superstar role, of that, of all the admiration he's getting, of being the next young superstar. You can just tell every moment, every chance the Clippers get, they are chirping this man. They are letting him feel it. They don't want anything he gets to be easy. They don't want him to be comfortable. They don't want any of that. And you can just see them trying to get under his skin. And I think what I've really grown, or my respect for Luka has grown the most through this bubble experience, is watching him handle that, because he seems like he just takes it and it's like, let's freaking go, man. Pass me that damn ball again. Let's go right back at it. And that's the attitude you have to take to compete at this level and to win playoff games like he's done. So he's proven he has a little bit of that dagger, a little bit of that snake in him, and you need it in this league.
There he is. He's got that carefree attitude. Look at that. He does. He quite literally almost has a smile on his face.
He does.
Probably like 20 times a game. And I love that. I mean, that's what we need more of across all sports. I'm a big baseball guy. You know that. And often in baseball, the idea is that you stay in your lane. You don't show emotion. You don't show up the other team. You don't necessarily celebrate the home run or whatever, the strikeout. Yep. I can't wait to get away from that and just see people out there enjoying what they do. And Luka Doncic does that, which is why I do think he's emerging as a huge star. So if the LeBron comparison is not, it's like not quite there. Some people are making the James Harden comparison as well, as the way he's able to like figure out to get his shot. This is also from that ESPN story about talking about a lot of players out there can see similarities in the way that James Harden plays. Steve Kerr is one of those guys. He's got this James Harden skill set with crossovers and step backs. He's a brilliant player and so young. He's going to have one of those cornerstones, or be one of the cornerstones of the league for a long time. And I think there's these moves, Corey, and maybe you can break it down a little bit better than I can, but there's these moves that he makes that, while not athletic, he creates so much separation for his shots. It's like this little step in and then step back. And it doesn't, when you're watching TV, it doesn't look all that impressive, but he's able to create this space between himself and the defenders that not a lot of other players in the NBA can create.
Yeah, there's a difference between play speed, right? And I think that you look at a guy like, we always talk about football, Tyreek Hill, he looks fast on tape and he looks fast in real life, right? Some people just don't look fast on tape. I don't know what it is, but just some people, it looks deceptive. So Luka, I one of the biggest criticisms against him is that he doesn't look athletic. He doesn't look fast.
I know what it is. It's size, right? Like when you're that long, these movements don't look that quick. Tyreek's a little dude, man. So those legs are doing a little bit of that stuff.
Exactly. This guy is 6'7", 230. He can move easily. And but the thing is, like I said, he's strong enough. When you get in the paint, the thing about James Harden that makes him one of the many things that makes him offensively potent is that he's strong enough. Not only can he get an angle on you, and he can get an angle on anybody in the league. So he gets an angle on you, gets you off balance, beat you to the rim, and then he can hold his position in the paint and finish and get the foul. Luka's the same way. He can get an angle on you despite the criticism that he's not fast enough. He gets that angle, and then no one can stop him because he's 6'7", 230. He's going to finish around the rim. He's going to the line. That's the comparison, and that's why he's so potent and so deadly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's also that natural comparison too, and that's a good way to put it, Corey. But he's one of these European players like Dirk Nowitzki, greatest player in Dallas Mavericks history. But a lot of people think that he will surpass him. David Fizdale here, former New York Knicks coach. This is also from the ESPN article. He's going to push Dirk Nowitzki for the greatest European to ever play this game when it's all said and done. That's high praise. There's been a lot of really good European players out there, and you like to box people, or people like to box them in. It's like, okay, European player style. That's like Dirk kind of made his own style as a big man who could do a lot of things, shoot from deep. And I think, Jack, in a lot of ways, Luka's going to create his own style in a way that there will be people out there and kids out there all across the world who are trying to learn and play the way that Luka Doncic plays, where for a long time it's like, let me see if I can dunk. Let me lower the rim long enough or short enough to where I can pretend I'm LeBron. There's going to be things that Luka does that actually kids around the world can replicate.
Yeah, probably already are, truthfully. It's a little like if you took Dirk's game and LeBron's game and put them together. I don't think he has the athleticism of LeBron, but I don't think LeBron had the skill set of a Luka or of a Dirk, especially this early on. And so it makes me wonder a little bit of, like Corey said a minute ago, that, you know, LeBron came into the league such a freakish, superior athlete, and then developed a jump shot, and then developed some game, and then developed a step back off of that. And now he has the complete game. If Luka comes in this developed, you're not going to all of a sudden one day wake up and have the athleticism or jumping ability of a LeBron. So what is it that he improves on over the years? Is there a way that he can elevate his game if you don't, you know, if you already came in that polished? And I don't know the answer to that. You'd have to ask more of a basketball purist like Corey.
I think for sure there's always room for improvement. But I think the comparison is, let's not necessarily use LeBron as much, but look at a guy like Zion Williamson and Luka, right? First 2 years in the league, Zion's a freak, or even John Morant as well. You know, you have two freak of natures athletically, and then Luka, who is, for anyone who loves the game of basketball, you know, Luka's game is gorgeous, but it doesn't have the same sort of highlight tape that, you know, you look at Zion, everything he does is a highlight. You know, he literally is a walking human highlight reel. Whereas Luka, if you know what he's doing, you're just sitting there saying, how in the world does this guy do what he does? You know, so that's the biggest difference, I think, in the comparisons between the American and the European game. But yeah, the ceiling is infinite for Luka, in the sense that, I mean, he is so talented, but he can always improve. And you see that step back he incorporated in his game, took his game to another level. I wonder what he did during this 3-month period off, because he looks like a reinvigorated Luka coming into this bubble. He was doing crazy stuff earlier in the season, but he looks like he took his game to another level during quarantine, and I have no idea what he did. I need to know.
Yeah, you figure if he's smart enough, if he's got this IQ, that he'll continue to be able to think of new ways to reinvent himself, get his shot, improve his game. But I get what you're saying, Jack. It's like often in a draft, NFL draft, you love those raw prospects. You know, it's like you got a bunch of talent, but they haven't been coached that well yet. Like, well, that seems like a bad thing. It was like, no, that's good, because we can coach him up and he can improve his game so much more. So here are all this is his Wikipedia page. Here are all the things that Luka has done so far. 4 of the 5 triple doubles recorded by teenagers in NBA history. So this is all things he did in the regular season. First player in NBA history to record a 30-point triple double as a teenager. Youngest player to record all these different things. And then what we've seen in the playoffs, NBA record 42 points in an NBA playoff debut. Became the second player in NBA history to score 70 through his first 2 games. Youngest player in NBA history with a 40-point triple-double in a playoff game. So he is doing it as a 21-year-old. And the numbers speak for themselves there. There are a couple other players here, though, who are emerging. I want to get to them in a second, but I want to quiz you real quick on Luca Trivia. See if you guys can get it. You ready? All right. Who's his favorite player? Do you guys know that?
LeBron.
It is LeBron. Good call, LeBron. He also likes KD. He also likes Kyrie. But LeBron was the guy. He
had LeBron sign his jersey for him and has it hanging on his wall, I believe.
Oh, really?
After the first time they played. Then I think the second time they played, he put up 30. LeBron and Luka both put up 30. And then I think that was the game where LeBron, I believe, said he is a bad MFer.
How old was Luka when he won the EuroLeague MVP? Youngest ever to do it. He was 19. He was 19 when he did that. Could have won it probably as a 17-year-old. Okay, and finally, 2 more. He spends 2 to 3 hours a day doing this.
Playing FIFA.
Playing video games.
FIFA, man, Jack is on one. And that's nice.
Overwatch
you must have really did you text Luka before? How do you know all the answers to this?
I was texting in Slovenian a minute ago.
Jack and I just read the same website, probably is what happened here. He also plays Overwatch too, which I'm not. That's a first-person shooter game? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's got nothing on Fortnite, but I heard it's cool.
And do you guys know he has a plethora of nicknames that have come and gone? I think I don't know what the most popular one is out there for Luka right now.
Wonder Boy.
Wonder Boy is one of them.
That's my favorite.
The Don is another one. Doncic, I get it. The Matador, which seems like a bad one, right? It's like Matador defense is where you just let him go right by you. But I guess
that's like the guy with the bull. Is that the big red thing?
Yeah.
I think it's a whole Spain connection.
And then Swaggy LD, Luka Doncic. That's not bad.
Swaggy LD.
I mean, someone's already got the Swaggy P, so it's kind of a little too similar.
So it's a rip. Also, right, I want to say really quick on the Luka piece that I think the next level for Luka, obviously he can work on, anyone can work on his game at any moment, right? There's an infinite level there for anybody. You can always get better. But I think what we're going to see here in the next few years is Luka transitioning from being a great individual player to being a great team leader and player. And that is a catastrophic. That is a categorical jump. When you go from I can put up a triple double and I can lead the league in triple doubles, or I'm an MVP candidate, versus how can I help our team get past the first round of the playoffs? How can I get everyone else around me to reach that level of all-star level? And that is going to be the next level for Luka to unlock after he settles down in his own little space.
Yeah, I mean, you guys. I remember you guys texted, it was last night, and something about the Luka thing. And I knew they had a game coming up with the Clippers again. They had a day off, 24 hours for the national media to talk about how great Luka is and him being some superhero, take over the world kind of guy. And Doc Rivers sitting there watching all this, going, "Forget about this shit. Wait till you see what comes." And you knew what was coming. I'd already seen the same thing happen to Damien, so I texted you guys back. What happens if he gets smoked tonight? It's just that's the NBA. And to Corey's point, you want to go beat Kawhi and you want to beat Doc Rivers in round one. It's not as easy as winning 2 games, and I don't think they're gonna wind up getting another one in this series.
Yeah, we could have done this podcast maybe a couple days before. It would have been better. It would have been better after one of his good games. I was watching that game and I was like, well, he's not playing terrible, but the whole team's not playing great. And so,
you're 22-8, and it felt like a bad game. And that's what I mean. Right. The Mavs, it's such a strange team because they wear their heart on their sleeve. So, they had 6 techs last night, 4 techs in the first game. Kristaps is a very emotional person on the court in the sense of he lets it show. Luka, like you said earlier, Ahmed, he's someone who has a lot of fun, but then you can also tell when he's frustrated. And to Jac's earlier point, when he's getting chirped, there was, it's very clear when he's frustrated or when he's down, when he has a cloud on him. So, I mean, the poker face of the Mavs team is not great.
Yeah, I don't know much about European trash talk, but I know for a fact it's different when you come over and you're playing in the NBA bubble. It's an adjustment period, but he'll get there.
Although they can say things that you might not have any idea what they mean, and that is often very intimidating. When you see someone saying something, you're like, I don't quite know what you're saying, but I don't think it was good. Don't do that.
Well, you remember Kobe talking to him in Slovenian?
Yes.
Remember that?
That's right.
That was that was honestly like the Luka moment where I was, gosh, and how cool would have Kobe have been just to be able to speak. He's such a great ambassador for international basketball and speaking.
Well, you could tell how much he respected Jac, how much he respected his game and his creativity. It was like we talk about Kobe Bryant's, obviously the physical tools, but he prided himself on the mentality and outthinking his opponent. And I think he saw that in Luka.
Yeah, he did. And he whispered to him, and Luka's locked into a game mode, and Kobe and Gigi are sitting courtside right there. And this is about a month before, Kobe had passed, and he is talking to him in his native tongue. And you can just see Luka's face turn from stone cold game mode into this slow drawing smile. And he turns around mid game and dapped up Kobe. So at least they got to share that great moment right there, which is pretty awesome in that picture.
And when I was mentioning, the progression of faces in the NBA, I left out, Kobe, because I think Kobe was in there. It was like after Jordan, you got Kobe there for a long time carrying that torch. And then you got LeBron. And who knows, maybe he saw something like we're talking about with Luka. It's like he can be that guy going forward. But guys, there are a few other emerging stars in this bubble. And I think, Corey, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this dude right here, who we didn't really.
Which one, Jokic or Murray?
I'm talking about Murray. I'm talking about Jamal Murray here. Either one, but what Murray has done here the last couple of games, we didn't totally plan, or I didn't totally plan on talking about him in this discussion, but you can't ignore what he did. And this is from our good friend at NBC Sports, Tom Haberstroh. Look at this. Last 2 games, he got 50 on Sunday, no turnovers, 43 last night. no turnovers. And so you cannot ignore this dude who is what? He's 23 now, who might be coming into his own right here, Corey. What do you think of Jamal Murray?
This has been a great series to watch. The broadcaster in yesterday's game was saying it's not a duel in the strictest sense of the word, because Murray and Mitchell aren't guarding each other. But I mean, every single game, every time down the court, it's just these two guys, Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray. I had never really sat down and watched Jamal Murray, throughout the season. Whenever I watch the Nuggets, I just watched Jokic because I love Jokic's game. I think he's one of the best big men in the game. Sure. But man, Murray just takes over games. He's electric. The end of last night's game, I mean, actually the whole second half, Murray had 9 points in the first half. And people were saying, okay, where is he? What happened? And the second quarter, you could see he just said, no, I'm willing this team to victory. And that's a really special thing that, you can see that with Damian Lillard too. He has the same type of will to win. So I love Jamal Murray's game, and he has so much fun playing. And you could see that it's just about competition, going out there and winning, just playing ball. Yeah. So I love his game. He has great step backs. He was shooting lights out all series. At one point, I think in the 50-point game that he had, he was shooting 9 for 15 from the 3-point line. So, I mean, he can kill you from anywhere on the floor. And that one amazing play he had yesterday, he drove to the basket, and then he, in the air, right, he did a 360 layup with a George Gervin Iceman finger roll off the glass. It was talking about poetry. I watched that, and I said, oh, man, this is one bad man just taking over the game.
That was one of the most unguardable finishes around the rim I'd ever seen in my life. I mean, he was in the air for seemed like 3 seconds, goes up with a big man. The big man jumped up, does his job straight up, the slow spin, and then talk about control. I mean, at the end of that thing, how about John Calipari's tweet right after it? He used to always tell me, no, coach, this is a good shot. That's a good shot right there. That's a high percentage shot. I can make that shot. I mean, I've been watching him. I grew up in Kentucky. So I've been watching Jamal Murray play basketball since he was 17, 18 years old. It's not like this is all some brand new secret to me. I'm surrounded by University of Kentucky basketball fans everywhere I look. But he was always had so much star power around him that he couldn't go be the phenom. Do you know what I mean? He had to share the rock a little bit. And that's the unique thing about going to Kentucky is you're already surrounded by so much developing NBA talent. That it's unique. And so now that he's separated out on his own, he can go take this number of shots and score 50 points. But I think I've known he was capable of doing this now since he was 18.
Yeah, that's a good point. Overshadowed a bit, just 1 year at Kentucky and then goes on a team and had good regular seasons with Denver, but didn't have that great one for, I think, former number 7 overall pick. Jamal Murray. But when we talk in the discussion of, who takes the mantle as some of these big superstars, we've seen it from Curry, we've seen it from KD, we've seen it from LeBron, of course. I don't know. I don't know his personality necessarily. I think he's more of a quiet type of guy. But he's got an interesting story too, Corey, because grew up in Canada. His dad was really into the mindset, and not dissimilar from what we were just talking about from Kobe right there. The mindset, though, but not in a basketball sense, like in a kung fu sense. Quite literally, there's like a huge kung fu influence in Jamal Murray's life. He said Bruce Lee is a major influence on him. His mindset there, meditation is a huge part of his game. How he prepares for a game. And so when you talk about stories of these superstars, you need something outside of being great at basketball. That's always, number one. You got to be great. You got to be awesome. You got to do some things that make people go, wow, on the court. But you also have to have an interesting story off the court. And Corey, it seems like, I don't know if he's that outspoken of a guy, and maybe he needs to be that to be a face, a super mega star in the NBA, but it seems like he's a super interesting guy off the court.
Yeah, and like Jack said, when you're on a team, where there's so much talent, people can be buried sometimes. And I feel like that's the way the NBA works. There's so many talented guys out there. But, if you're sequestered in some small market, or, if you're sitting on the bench behind these other guys, you don't get the chance until the spotlight's on you. Like we saw TJ Warren. He was great in college, and then we were like, what happened to TJ Warren? And he popped out in the bubble. So I'm happy that Jamal Murray is kind of coming into his own. I love the Kung Fu aspect. I'm a big Kung Fu fan. I spent like all of quarantine watching all the Shaw Brothers films on Netflix. So, I mean, like, I'm right there with him. Nice. I think that's sweet. I would love to chop it up about, Kung Fu films with Jamal Murray. If we can set that up for the next episode of the pod, let's talk to Matt Casey about that. If we could set that up, that'd be hot.
100%. 100%. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're getting a fan club here, Jack.
I'm with you. And I think success is about where you go, too. And you made me think about that just a second ago, Ahmed, is like with Luka going down to Dallas. I just think it's like almost like a quarterback. When you take a quarterback with the first overall pick, the situation you place them in is going to be just as important to their success as the player you took. And when you take a player like Luka and you pair him with Mark Cuban, I just think that Dirk. I just think Dirk Nowitzki almost pops right back in. Like it was a perfect thing. I think culturally, Mark Cuban knew how to make him, put an arm around him and say, just introduce him to American culture and take his time with him and say he's blazing his own path here. And at the same point, I think Jamal Murray going from Kentucky, sort of a small market type of place that's off the map, middle of nowhere, America, to a team over like Denver, where it's not some massive media market. And he's a little more of a low key guy where he could just be Jamal. And it's really worked out perfectly. And I grew up with his girlfriend. So I know him on a personality level very well, and he is that guy, man. He's just very like laid back, chill, hoop, and then chill. That's just who he is, and I think Denver's the perfect place to go do that.
I love it. This is all about Dirk, but I feel like Jamal Murray is becoming the face of the All Things pod right here. He's creating a 3-man fan club right here. Jack was already a big part of it for Jamal Murray. So all right, so Corey, so who are you more bullish on in their future? We'll throw another name, and you mentioned him, Jamal Murray or Donovan Mitchell. Who are you more bullish on?
It's tough. For me personally, it's so tough because I would say Donovan Mitchell, to answer your question, because last year when I saw Donovan Mitchell in their first round exit against the Rockets, I was so surprised. I was watching him play, and I was like, this isn't the same player I've watched all season. Something clicked. And I remember specifically, like, there was a moment when I was watching a playoff game, and I said, Donovan Mitchell's different. Something is different about him. And then this season, you could see it's very clear. This playoff season, this playoff series, you could see that Donovan Mitchell has started to make the transition, like we talked about before with Luka, where he says, I can get, 50, 40 points anytime. He's averaging 37 plus points per game right now, but it's not about him. And that is what every great leader understands. It's not about me. It's not about my stats. It's about winning. And to win, I need to elevate everyone else's play. And you can see when he plays, he is coaching on the floor. He's bringing in guys, making sure he levels everyone out as far as their excitement level or emotional, because basketball is a game of momentum. So if it's too high, he rides it, but he doesn't buy into it in the sense of overhype and lose control. If they're too low, he says, okay, guys, let's get it back going. We got to get something going here. Let's establish a rhythm. So I think he's taken that next step to a leader, and it's going to take him a couple years to figure that out, but he is making that transition. Whereas, I mean, I don't know if Jamal Murray is there yet. I think Jamal Murray is kind of where Donovan Mitchell was last year in the sense of like you had a breakout time, and then now you have to figure out how to lead a whole team.
Yeah. And sometimes, Jack, leading the team just means shooting a 3, which is over 50% in the playoffs. So sometimes it's just here, I'll shoot it and I'll make it, and that'll help. But yeah, he's popped here in the postseason. Have you seen any of his game here? Do you know any of his game here, Jack?
Oh yeah. And I think it's the next generation. He's another Kentucky guy. He was Louisville, right? I mean, it's funny how many of these guys, you just don't think about Kentucky basketball. It's just amazing how many of these guys begin there and then go on to be that. But what Corey's describing, I think, grows a lot from, growing up watching LeBron play basketball. And it's not, he didn't always have the scorer first mentality where it's all about me scoring 40 points per game. He was all about getting his teammates involved. He wanted everybody else to shine. And he was a pass first option type of guy. And I think a lot of these young guys from a mental standpoint grow up watching LeBron play, and he's sort of the basketball god of our generation. And the way that he shared the basketball, and you're starting to see that go down and translate into this next generation of stars. And can they score? Can they shoot the 3 ball? Hell yeah, they can. But they definitely, they know the importance of that element of the game, and it's showing up when you watch them play, especially this year.
It's so hard to have that mentality for a lot of these basketball players because to stand out, you need to be that guy a lot of times.
Yeah.
In these AAU leagues, these tournaments all across the country, you're traveling. You need to be the guy to be able to get that top scholarship offer. But you're right. It's like this emerging mindset of if you win, I win. You know, I can share in your success. LeBron is just as happy with a 15 assist game as he is with a 60-point game, you know? And so it's like that kind of mentality, Corey.
And it's not, I think it's also to bring that to another level. It's not necessarily just about, you know, my stats and helping the team win. I think the leaders understand that they can turn it on whenever. That's why LeBron doesn't feel the pressure to score 20 points in the first quarter because he knows he can score at will. So so what he needs to do as a leader is he needs to get AD in a rhythm. He needs to get KCP in a rhythm. He needs to make sure Kyle Kuzma is feeling confident and shooting his shot. And once he makes sure everyone else around him is in their rhythm, setting them up, running plays for them, making sure that they're hitting open shots, then when he needs to in the third, fourth quarter, he can say, okay, guys, the game's mine. I'm going to score 18 and carry us to victory. And that's the next level of leadership that I think, like I said, Donovan Mitchell isn't there yet, but you can see he's working through that, where he's saying, I need to make sure everyone around me, I need to make sure Rudy Gobert is feeling good tonight. How do I run this offense around Rudy to make sure that he's starting to get in his rhythm? So that is the next level.
It's funny you say that because there was a tweet that went viral speaking of how he talks about his teammates and how he is a good leader. Came from Eric Larson here. I don't know who he is. Seems like a good guy. My 9-year-old just said the thing I like most about Donovan Mitchell is he's always talking about his teammates instead of himself. He said, I wish so bad I could meet him and get a pair of shoes. So hopefully the tweet going viral was a compliment. And then you wrap it in a request, which is always really smart. That's a smart way to do it. It's like if someone tweets me about a show I'm doing, they go, I really love the show. Could you answer this question for me? It's like, it's the perfect way to do it. But they noticed it. You're right. Just like you said, he's talking about his teammates. He's conscious of it. You can tell he's conscious of where he fits in with a team and how much of a role he has in a leadership role for Denver right now. One more player I want to get to before we go. He's not a young gun. He's been around for a while. Damian Lillard. So he's not going to be the face of the NBA, but I think Damian Lillard, Jack, has almost gotten a raw deal for a long time because people have made that comparison and they're still doing it to Steph Curry. And saying, oh, who's the better shooter? They're both very similar. And they're even doing, Kenny Smith is doing it, saying he can shoot from a longer distance than Steph Curry, and Steph Curry is sniping back at him. I almost think that's done Damian a disservice because he is so good of a player in his own right. Just as you mentioned before, doesn't have that environment around him like Curry has had with the superstars, but he is so good. And I don't know if we'll see him again this postseason because of the knee injury, but he's shown once again that he's one of the best NBA players we've had in a decade.
He has one of those just unique, you can almost count on one hand type mental states to me. When you just watch him, he has like that Kobe gene, that LeBron gene, if you want to go there, that MJ gene. He has some different level of lock-in that other guys just don't have. I think they surprised the Lakers a little bit. LA had basically been playing exhibition games coming into game one. Portland had been playing playoff games coming into game one. And Portland was playing like they've been playing playoff games coming into game one. But he's changed basketball. The way he's spreading, and he keeps going closer. Every time I watch him play, I think he's shooting closer to the half-court line. And he's totally comfortable doing that. And think about what that does to your offense when you bring out the defender to 5 feet but beyond what's already an extended NBA three-point line. You keep having to come out and step out, if whether it's a pick and roll or whatever. You just have to keep stretching out. Think of the amount of space you're now creating in between the three-point line and the free throw line right there, and not to mention everywhere else. So I think that trend and hunting for guys that can pull up like Steph Curry, like Damian, from further and further out is going to continue because the shooting percentage is there.
Yeah, and I said that it's a disservice to compare them, but here, let me compare them real quick because this was on the website. Our own website,
do, bro.
NBC Sports is what we do. Is we got to fill the whole time. No. So here are the stats from different distances. This is career. This is from our NBCSports.com website. So from 25, 29 feet, Dame gets the advantage over Curry. 30 to 34, slight advantage for Steph there. But then We got 35 to 39. Look at that. Lillard, 47%. And then he's made a couple plus 40 there. So, yeah, at long range, I mean, that's what Kenny Smith, I showed that tweet and that exchange back and forth between Kenny Smith and Steph Curry. Pure range of 40-footer, 38-footer. Damian Lillard might be the best that we've ever seen in the NBA, Corey.
Yeah, I would prefer a layup. But
sure, yeah.
That's just me. I'm playing the percentages. But yeah, I think Jack makes a great point. Basketball is about spacing. So when you have a guy like Damian Lillard who can shoot a 40-foot shot or 39-foot shot with a 47%, I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. And he happens to be one of the fastest players off the dribble and being very explosive, right? So I mean, it's kind of pick your poison at that point. I think that is a really interesting way to break down a defense. But the one thing that I love about Damian Lillard is there was this quote that said, when I'm going out there, I'm trying to take your soul. Like the guy, this is more than just a game in the sense of,
and he means those aren't just words that he's just saying. Like he means that too.
He means it. And I've played with a couple guys when you're out there, they look at you like, if I don't win this route, if I don't beat you off the line, I don't eat today. Like that level of intensity, and you're like, whoa, chill, it's just a game. It's not to me. It's not a game to me. That's kind of the way I watch him play, and I really admire that about his game of how seriously he approaches it. But you could also see that I love this about Damian, that he's not an individual ego guy. He's always been about the team as well. He's one of the most clutch players in the NBA and has been for years. Just he's been, buried in Portland, so no one's been able, I guess, to pay attention to it. But he's been doing this for years. Extremely clutch. And Damian and CJ, the way that they run their organization over there as far as player leadership, it's, look, we want to win. And it doesn't matter how many followers we have. It doesn't matter, how glitzy or glamorous we are. We want to play the game at a high level. And you can see that. So, yeah, I'm a fan of their organization.
Not an ego guy, a respect guy. Like Damian to me reads like somebody who doesn't care about money, doesn't care about anything. He cares about titles and he cares about respect. And almost cares about titles just because that's the ultimate respect. Like he wants Portland he wants that organization to be respected with the top dogs, and they don't have any business being that, which is what creates such a fun dynamic of just watching him just be relentless in his pursuit of it. But you mentioned that attitude, Corey, about some guys play like, if I don't win this rep, I don't eat tonight. I noticed with LeBron, and this was my gut feeling coming into the bubble, that he was going to be playing for something that no other team is. He is playing for the life and legacy of probably one of his greatest mentors in Kobe Bryant. And on 8/24 on Mamba night, there was some different level of lock-in from number 23, LeBron James. There was some different level, and we've seen it from him in the past in his career, whether it's a game 7, a game 6 elimination game, whatever it is, where he has that look in his eye every single series. They were up freaking 30, and he had that same look in his eye like he was trying to, if he didn't win that single series, that he wasn't going to eat that day. That was what you saw from LeBron. And you heard him say when he looked up at the scoreboard and saw it was 8-24, he said, Kobe's here tonight. Kobe's in the building tonight. And that's the game that he played. He played like he had Kobe Bryant's eyes right on him.
Really cool moment. So I'll end it with this, guys. 5 years from now, when the guy, Jack, that you were just talking about, number 23 there, retires from the league, although I don't know if he'll retire. He might play forever. He might be like Tom Brady, the Tom Brady of the NBA. But in 5 years, say that he's retired, he's out of the league. Is the guy guarding him the new face of the league? Is he widely considered, Luka Doncic, the face of the NBA? Corey, I'll start with you there. 5 years from now,
I would say it's probably going to be Zion.
He's the other name, right? He's the other one outside of the guys that we mentioned here. Maybe.
What about AD?
Maybe.
Well,
seems like his moment has come, and now is his moment in unison with LeBron. But possibly, you're right.
Well, I feel like AD, the way that I look at it, I feel like AD's in the generation of like the James Harden, Russell Westbrook, like right after them, Yeah. But like then we're talking about the new guard of the Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is leading the new guard, by the way. Like, it's not Luka, it's not Zion, it's not Ja. Jason Tatum's a franchise player already. Like he's bona fide franchise player. So, and then you talk about like Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, like they're all kind of like for me, the new guard kind of question.
Sure.
So for me, it's led by Jason Tatum, but in 5 years, I would have to say the face of the NBA would probably be Zion, just based off of all the advertising and promotion they're putting on. Like they're making him into the star, and like he draws people like a star would, like LeBron. There's the same LeBron effect around Zion. But Luka, to me, I mean, I love Luka's game. I mean, I would love to build a franchise around Luka. So I think that the star will be Zion. But I personally, if I was an owner, I would love to just build a franchise around Luka. I think he has so many skill sets and talents. I just love him.
Mark Cuban's living the dream. He's living the dream. He's got everything. He's got Shark Tank. He's got Luka. He's got it all. Jack, what do you think?
He does. It's going to be built on championships. Like you're asking for the next biggest star in 5 years. It's who can in the NBA. You cannot win. And I want to say that this is a new thing. Maybe started by the Celtics and then carried on by the Heat, and now you see it everywhere. But the reality is, you even go back and look at MJ. It takes multiple key pieces to go make championships, and specifically multiple championship runs. But that's where the superstar power is determined in this league. And you see Luka right here trying to bust into that with a couple of playoff wins, and then you see the NBA and the Kawhis and the real star power, the guys that have been there before, go, hang on, man. This is what this club is really all about. And that's what we saw last night. So where does it go from there? My guess is Luka and his ability to become that guy relies heavily on what can Mark Cuban put around him. What other superstar young piece or old piece can they put with him that puts him over the top? And I don't think he'll be able to do it on his own. I don't think he'll will teams to the finals every year like LeBron did his whole career. He's going to need other pieces around him, but he's an awesome guy, an awesome player to be able to put pieces around, because that he'll share the ball with them in high regard.
I think that's a good point. It's going to be winning. You got to do a lot of winning. Although Mike Trout has been able to build himself up, and they've done very little winning on the baseball side of it. But
that's a good point.
I think basketball's a different beast, where championships mean even more somehow.
They do.
Yeah. So I think championships for Luka, which I think they could do. I think Mark Cuban can figure out a way to do it, and they can bring some talent in there to surround him, and he can make everyone around him better. And I think it is important, if you're going to have, these face, which it's really, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. But if you're going to be considered widely the face of the NBA, you have to have that story leading up. I think you almost have to have the story your entire career. Like LeBron, we were tracking him in high school. He's coming all this phenom. Is he really that good? And so we were on him from the moment he started. Kobe, much the same way. And I think it's like that for Luka here, which is an advantage for him. So
you're right.
I'm going to say in 5 years, Luka Doncic will widely be considered the face of the NBA. And I'm putting it on my calendar to revisit this pod in 5 years to see if we were right about that. But he's good.
He's made for it.
He's fun to watch. He's made for it. He's having fun. He's got the personality. Who wouldn't want to root for that guy? So I'm rooting for him.
Mom's a model. Dad's a basketball player. You're looking for the face of the NBA. I'd say that's pretty good genes, pretty good combination there.
This is it. I should just pull up the one of him smiling as we finish it. Hold on. Let me find it. Here it is. There it is. You're telling me that's not the face of the NBA right there, Corey?
Hey, look, I'm a big Luka fan. I told you I love Luka. I need the T-shirt. But I think Zion is a really hard. I mean, how do you bet against Zion? That's all I'm saying.
Okay, he's running off the screen there. He's laughing at us. All right, guys, well done. All things Luka right there. I hope they can win a little bit more, because I'd like to see him keep playing. Although I don't know that will happen. Corey, Jack, well done. We'll get together again soon.
Amen. Adam Silver's all in one, man. This whole bubble thing has been special.
It's working. It's
been so awesome.
It's working.